What's up, Iron Horse addicts, and thank you for watching another great video from Iron Horse Addiction. This episode of Backyard Rides takes us along Bush Highway as we follow the Lower Salt River. Addicts, as we approach the Lower Salt River, we're actually on Power Road in Northeast Mesa right now. It basically becomes Bush Highway. And if you can see that red mountain in front of me, that's actually Red Mountain. It's actually has some, I don't know if it's religious or cultural significance, but it is located on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. So it is part of a sovereign nation. It's a beautiful mountain, and unfortunately it's very hard to get permission to hike it. Back in roughly, I think it was mid-1980s, there were some boys who went up in there and basically desecrated some petroglyphs that were there. And ever since then, they've really shut down access to that area. You have to get special permission from the SRP community in order to hike, take pictures close to, or basically get in that area. So anyways, it's a landmark in this area. It's also known as Fire Mountain and Gun Sight Butte. So obviously the Red Mountain makes sense. Fire Mountain, it's close to sunset, but you'll start, you know, when it's dusty, it almost gives off like a red hue around the mountain, and that's where Fire Mountain comes from. And Gun Sight Butte comes from that butte kind of at the top that looks like you know, you're looking through a gun sight. Anyways, there's a little bit of history about a beautiful mountain here as we enter the Lower Salt River area. This area right here that we're riding through is actually considered the Haas Trails area, and it is a mountain biker's paradise. So if you love to pedal rather than pull the throttle, this is the place for you. In fact, a buddy of mine, Ryan, he just had an event out here not too long ago, and it was with the Haas Trail Alliance. And what their intention, or the purpose of this group, is to raise money so that they can maintain the trails and keep this place as a great area so people can come out and ride and experience the beautiful nature. All right, we are officially in the Lower Salt River area. It's part of the Tonto National Forest, and it really is a great place to recreate here just outside of the valley. You'll notice there's a lot of places that you can pull off and jump in the river. There's places, you see fishermen right there. Everybody comes down here basically to get out of the city life and get into the, I guess, the beautiful country that's been created for us to enjoy. If you look straight ahead, that is Four Peaks. Now, we won't get anywhere near Four Peaks, but Four Peaks is another landmark that's very common for people to see here in the area. As a young man, I was fortunate enough to hike to the top of Browns Peak, which I believe is the first mountain, the one farthest to the left. That's considered the tallest peak. All right, so I'll try to pan over here. You can kind of see some of the watershed of the Salt River here. You can see how for a desert it's lush and green comparative to some of the other areas around here. I'd say the two most popular spots to play on the river is Fondie Sutton and Coons Bluff. Fondie Sutton is a great area for kids. It tends to be a lot less, I don't want to say rapids. Rapids are, it's not the right term because the Salt River is a slow flowing river, but there are some areas that could sweep a kid away. And Fondie Sutton has more of like pools and areas where older kids, 8, 9, 10-year-olds can play, and parents don't need to be too worried about them being swept away in a current. Coons Bluff is one that I remember a lot as a kid. Growing up in the Boy Scouts, we would camp there quite often, and we would, we'd have a great time there. we would play Ghosts in the Graveyard. We would have flashlight tag at night. We'd play Capture the Flag. All kinds of stuff that we did in Boy Scouts there. But we'd wake up the next morning and we'd head over, maybe a quarter mile to Coons Bluff itself, and we practice our rappelling skills off of that bluff. It's about a 92-foot drop, if I remember correctly, from the top to the bottom. So it is a beginner's rappelling location, but it's steep enough, it's big enough that you could really get some good practice in and learn some skills there as far as rappelling and canyoneering is concerned. I want to talk a little bit more about these horse signs that we see everywhere. Horse crossing, watch for horses are painted in the roadway. This area, right around 2010 or so, for whatever reason, it became real popular for herds of wild horses to be spotted. And eventually that herd grew and became a popular place for people to come watch these beautiful animals in their natural habitats. There's actually a group that has lobbied with the local municipalities and the local governments to get this signage put up, because what was happening is, the herd became big enough that it started, not fearing people, I guess. They're not really afraid of people. So they'll run in front of your car. So you do have to pay attention. And what was happening is the horses were being hurt and in some cases being killed. And so they've really, this group of lobbyists, great people, they've been trying to make people aware that there are a lot of horses in the area and that we need to pay attention to them. They also, my grandfather, who passed less than a year ago, his favorite thing to do is to come down here and watch these wild horses. And every time I come down here, it reminds me of the great times I had with my grandfather. Papa would come down here almost daily if he could. And he'd just scout out for a couple hours, look for these horses, see what they're doing. And he was just in awe by their beauty and their presence. And when I come down here, there's a little bit of him still here. I feel him here when I'm in these areas, because when I'm here, I think about Papa. And so it's been good for me to come down here every so often and to think about the wonderful times that Papa and I had together. All right, addicts, I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to let you guys enjoy the beautiful ride.
I'm not heading for the stars, driving down the boulevard at night. Playing Coldplay on repeat, watching people on the street as I go by. And it doesn't even matter to me where I go, I just feel I need to take a ride. Got my coffee cup to go, and I'm gonna hit the...
So one thing I've got to talk about more is the Salt River itself. We're actually coming over to a bridge where we'll cross the Salt River. But the Salt River is a 200-mile river whose waters start in the White Mountains of eastern Arizona. I did some research because I wanted to make sure I was quoting stuff correctly, but it was interesting to find out that the Salt River is named the Salt River because at the confluence of the White River and Black River from the White Mountains in eastern Arizona, it passes where the Salt River is formed. It passes an area known to have many salt deposits. I guess there's a huge salt deposit in that area. And since that's where it begins, that's how it got its name, the Salt River. But the Salt River truly is the lifeblood of the Phoenix area. If you guys are familiar with ASU, Arizona State University, go Devils! Tempe Town Lake, which is right off the stadium, that was created, or that is created with waters from the Salt River. They basically dammed up the Salt River for a couple of miles in the area and basically revitalized that area. And there are so many shops and office parks and activities and events. The Ironman is held there at Tempe Beach Park. They have rock and roll marathon in the area. All kinds of stuff happens there, and it's all because they dammed up the Salt River. All right, as I continue on, we're actually passing what was referred to, or we're looking at, was referred to as Stewart Mountain. And the Stewart Mountain Dam, which is just up the road, is what is the dam that creates the Saguaro River. And if you guys have listened to some of my vlogs in the past, the Saguaro Lake is like East Valley's water paradise. You know, in Arizona, if you didn't know, it gets hot, really hot. And so everybody needs a place they can go to cool off. And for the East Valley, it's Saguaro Lake. If you live in Northeast Mesa, you can be on Saguaro Lake in 30 minutes. You can have the boat on the lake within 30 minutes of leaving your house. It's that close. It was also, the dam was built not only to create the lake, but also to control the water so that larger populations could habitate the area. So that right there is Stewart Mountain, and we're looking at Stewart Mountain Dam. It's more of an earthen dam. Most of it is an earthen dam. All right, the other thing is, right in this area, right by this dam, is a very popular spot to drop in for paddle boarding the Salt River, tubing down the Salt River, or canoeing or kayaking. I've done it as a youngster. We've, you know, in Scouts, we would canoe down the Salt River. I did it three times in Boy Scouts, and even as an adult, we'd hook up with friends and we'd go canoe the Salt River. It's just a great adventure, a great activity to do, especially early in the, I'm going to say late spring, when you're getting your snow melt that's coming off and they're letting off a lot more water out of Saguaro Lake. You tend to get some more rapids, and it makes it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more fun. Addicts, we are approaching Saguaro Lake. I'm going to try to pan over while I'm riding here to give you a bit of a view. That right there, addicts, is Saguaro Lake. It's a little deceiving because it's actually a really big, well, really big lake is not necessarily accurate. But as you can see, it actually goes pretty far back there. It's like all the lakes that are created from the Salt River. Basically, you know, the river just is dammed up, and then it just fills in the little creeks and canyons around it. And that's the Saguaro Lake. It's no different than Canyon Lake or Roosevelt Lake. Once it was dammed up, it just filled up the canyons around it and created, like I said, a paradise for the East Valley. I'm going to pull up over here. Maybe we can get a little bit better view near the restaurant and the marina area. But this is the area where you'd come in to drop your boats. They rent boats out here. They've got a, I don't know, what is it? Not necessarily a steamboat. Maybe it is a steamboat. But they call it the Bell. A little tour that you can do here. It's the Southern Bell. Maybe that's what they call it. Anyways, just beautiful place to relax and enjoy an afternoon or an evening. Here's a pretty good view of the lake and the marina. There it is, addicts. Saguaro Lake. It's calm right now, but come summertime, even late spring, this lake will have 60, 70 boats, jet skis, you name it, it'll be out there, people having a great time. I've been here many times with friends and family just to enjoy a nice day on the lake. Well, addicts, that's Bush Highway, the Lower Salt River, and Saguaro Lake. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Backyard Rides. And if you did, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and smash that bell so that you can be notified every time a new video is dropped. So if you have friends or family, invite them to join us on this journey and have the adventure of a lifetime. As always, until next time, live life at 100 miles per hour. Addicts, I left the video running after I signed off, but I wanted to sign back in real quick. If you can see, that's Red Mountain. Remember how we called it Fire Mountain? Because sometimes the sun makes it look like it's on fire. This is an example of that. If you see the way the sun is, the fire or the mountain looks like there's a flame in it and it's just kind of flickering on the side of the mountain. Anyways, I'm glad I got to share that with you. What a beautiful, beautiful sight. I wasn't sure you guys were going to be able to see it. So there it is, Red Mountain, also known as Fire Mountain.